I was talking with a friend recently who told me he had just seen Who Framed Roger Rabbit for the first time. Now to me, Roger Rabbit was a pretty formative movie. A lot of my fascination with mixed media comes from Roger Rabbit. It's also one of the first movies I saw that wasn't entirely for kids. I was a little worried that maybe, with the nostalgia goggles removed, it might not hold up, but I was relieved to hear that he really enjoyed it. I do think a lot of that is due to the fact that it's such a weird movie though. There really isn't much out there like it except for something not as good like, I don't know, Monkey Bones. Regardless, there have been more than a few times where I've introduced someone to a film only to have it fall flat. Some movies just don't age well, and I'm sure we all have a list of examples that come to mind. What stands out to me more though, is when the opposite happens, and older films hold up way more than you'd expect. Have you ever watched an older film that you enjoyed? And I mean, really enjoyed. So much so, that after the credits rolled, your first thoughts were, man, I wish I saw that sooner. This is a video about watching films embarrassingly late. Let's get one thing out of the way. I understand that it's technically never too late to watch a film. If that were true and movies had expiration dates, no one would be able to watch Modern Times, and anyone trying to watch A Trip to the Moon would be severely out of luck. What I'm talking about is that feeling, that indescribable feeling we get, no, not that one. The feeling you get when you're diving into something much later than everyone else. For me, it lands somewhere between excitement and embarrassment. I call the films that cause this phenomenon my film blind spots. You know, films that are a must-watch. Films that are so universally acclaimed that they're now in the cultural zeitgeist. Film blind spots. Films that, when you tell someone you haven't seen them, elicit a look of disbelief. You mean you've never seen Magnolia? No, I haven't. Film blind spot. Of course, I knew of Coraline when it was released back in 2009, but as a snotty teenager, I turned my nose up at the film. Despite being a genuine fan of stop motion as a kid, Coraline didn't interest me much. I guess I was just tired of PG stop motion movies at that point. I can't really defend my reasoning, so I'll just chalk it up to a yet to be fully developed frontal lobe. The point is, I didn't really care to watch it then, and so there it sat. Throughout the years though, it popped up here and there. I see the movie poster on someone's wall, or see the characters on a t-shirt or a phone case. Eventually I meet people who told me how much they enjoy Coraline. I didn't even get those looks all over again. You mean you've never seen Coraline? Soon, I started to feel like I really had missed out on something that affected everyone else so deeply.
Bricks? I don't get it.
Fast forward to late 2024, when Coraline was having its 15th anniversary screening for just one weekend. By this point, I felt a little more compelled to see it than I did all these years ago. Still, it was only a passing interest really, another movie in my rapidly growing backlog. After realizing it would probably be pretty difficult to see this in the theater again though, I decided to give it a shot. Even if I don't end up loving it, at the very least I could say I checked off another glaring film blind spot. When it ended, my first thought was, yeah, I probably should have seen this a lot sooner. The tricky thing with this film in particular though is that it recontextualized a lot of angst I felt as a child, and it's hard to fully understand that without being so far removed from it. Sure, understanding some of Coraline's themes would have helped me a bit back then, but you can definitely watch a movie when you're not truly ready to appreciate it either. For starters, I had the best experience watching it for the first time in a theater, whereas I probably would have watched it on some dingy TV back in the day. The visuals were really something else. It was just so incredibly clear for a claymation film in a way that's hard to describe. It almost felt like I could see the fingerprints on the mannequins from how detailed it was. Not to mention the fact that Coraline is already a film full of rich, incredible visuals. There are some really sleek transitions and interesting Canton angles that are great for the old visual library, something I pay a lot of attention to these days, since it comes in handy when finding clips for the channel. Coraline's daily life feels grim. Her parents work around the clock, scrimping and saving as they uproot their lives to move into an ancient house. The filmmakers almost go out of their way to make the real world as boring and frankly depressing as possible. The colors are drab, it's constantly raining, and there's not much to eat. Even Coraline's parents are given the most boring jobs in the world, working as writer and editor duo for a horticulture magazine. Sorry, catalog writers. This is, of course, contrasted with the dream world, a place where Coraline's other parents are stress-free, attentive, and there's an abundance of extravagant food. Coraline was written for kids, but it doesn't talk down to its audience, and thanks to that, I feel like I really got a lot out of it. Sure, daily life is amplified to be incredibly boring, but even then, the sort of prosaic elements of Coraline feel more real than what we see in other kids' films. And that's something that really helps it stand the test of time in a way, being able to take something from a film regardless of whether it's intended audience or not. Coraline really tapped into my nostalgia for a time when the desire to find a secret entrance to another world was almost irrepressible. Coraline herself is always searching for something. Early on, she douses for water and tries talking to a cat, almost as if she's looking for proof of some latent powers that will finally cut through her boredom. I think as kids, we're especially driven to find moments of recognition and importance. A lot of characters get her name wrong, which reinforces the feeling that no one is ever really listening to her. So when she steps into a world that revolves around her, she's ecstatic. When I was young, I desperately wanted things to be much more than what they seemed. I was waiting for the day an alien would fly into my room and I'd have to hide it, or I wake up one day and discover I had superpowers. Naturally, these things didn't end up happening. So as a teenager, when I see characters like Coraline who tried to escape their own boring situations, I dismiss them as annoying. Maybe because I saw a bit of myself in that? As if I wanted to reach into the screen and tell them how futile a pursuit trying to stand out was. Wow, that actually makes a lot of sense now. I say that as I throw this video into the bottomless pit that is the internet. You have to understand that all this was happening around the same time that similar Twee films of the late 2000s were being released, which is what my teenage self mistakenly thought Coraline was. As an adult though, having navigated my fair share of banal moments in modern life, I actually find Coraline's desire to stand out to be quite endearing. Even something as small as a pair of gloves sparks interest in her, as she's always looking to add just the slightest bit of color to her muted world. The tenacity and bravery she displays throughout the film only furthers my opinion of her as a great protagonist. She's resourceful, and we see Coraline's bravery as she prepares to venture into the other world to save her parents. Her determination to challenge the Beldam, who is an equally resourceful and terrifying antagonist in her own right, is admirable. The Beldam is sinister, conniving, and almost too powerful, to the point where it's still up for debate whether Coraline really wins in the end. By the way, if you really want proof that Coraline struck a chord, look no further than the mountain of video essays and theories created by a community of people who have such a deep appreciation for this film. Even a decade and a half after its release, fans are still taking the time to go over the details with a critical eye, and continue to make videos about it. I'd like to posit the theory that Coraline wins, by the way, otherwise the film becomes a little too bleak and its message gets muddled. Okay, I guess you can add this video to the pile now too. We'll get back to Coraline in a bit, but I came to a realization while writing this. I've personally been exposed to tons of classic films early on, and there have been a few that I've since rewatched later in life. During those rewatches, it really dawned on me how much a film can go over your head completely in that first watch. While I'm ashamed of a few of my film blind spots, I do also feel like there's a certain time in your life when you're truly able to appreciate something to its fullest. Look, I didn't really want to make a David Lynch video because what can I say about his work that so many others already haven't? However, I do feel like I've seen something worth mentioning here. Since his death, a lot of people have been surprisingly open about the fact that they've never seen a David Lynch film. I don't know. I feel like we usually see the opposite happen after the death of an artist, where a decent amount of people will posture themselves, but this feels like the first time in recent memory where I've seen not only this outpouring of love from fans, but also a renewed interest from people who are just now engaging with the work for the first time. Months later, and can you tell this video was written a long time ago, the first impressions of Lynch's work still come up in casual conversation. Even the Instagram meme pages have got their hands on it. It's pretty refreshing to see people share their thoughts as newcomers to a series like Twin Peaks or films like Mulholland Drive. And since Lynch has already been a household name for so long, any amount of gatekeeping just seems silly. I personally find it nice to see people at the beginning of a journey you've already enjoyed yourself. Seeing these experiences online actually inspired me to finally watch Blue Velvet, which was one of the few glaring blind spots I had in his filmography. Before I see any shock reactions in the comments, yes, I know. It's definitely one of his best, and I'm surprised I didn't watch it sooner. But this is a video about watching films embarrassingly late after all. Well, I did actually see a clip of Blue Velvet in a class way back when, but it didn't catch my attention at the time. To my credit, it was just the opening scene, and we didn't get to watch the whole film during that lecture because...
Get ready to fuck! You fuckers fucker!
Yeah. Blue Velvet's influence stretches a lot further than I realized, and that's something that only hits you when you're watching a film so late after its release. Its mixture of Anytown USA and the seedy underbelly that it hides actually predates a lot of other films, and a few of Frank Booth's classic lines have made it elsewhere.
I'll fuck anything that moves!
Okay, maybe it's just that one. Though years ago, I heard someone in real life say the Heineken line, and up until a few weeks ago, I had no idea it was from this movie.
Pabst Blue Ribbon!
Anyway, Blue Velvet is pretty high up there on my list now. Though my favorite Lynch film will probably always be Lost Highway.
What elaborate on that?
No, I won't.
Lynch famously shies away from most interpretations of his work, but I'll tell you what I got out of it. I know it's a near 40-year-old film at this point, but stick with me here. Blue Velvet is really about becoming your own fully formed person through quick, harsh life experiences. If you look at the deleted scenes of Blue Velvet, you'll see that a few of them take place in Jeffries University, which for many is a stasis point between young adulthood and true adulthood, going from being a kid with looming adult responsibilities to becoming someone who navigates those responsibilities as best you can. Honestly, if I saw Blue Velvet in college, I don't think I would have really understood what that meant, since I was in that stasis. I bring all this up to illustrate a point. Sometimes, you really don't have the insight to fully appreciate a movie at that particular moment in time. For me, there's a ton of giallo influence in Blue Velvet that I wouldn't have really appreciated if it weren't for the fact that I watched too many of them just last year. I'm sure this all feels like a major detour from where we were earlier in the video, but the messages of both of these films are connected in a major way. Once the Beldam's true intentions are revealed, the other world turns into a place that Coraline must escape from. She even climbs into bed sobbing, missing her status quo. After winning the Beldam's game, she returns to her status quo, with fresh insights and a new outlook on things. The film ends with Coraline's family and the residents of the Pink Palace restoring their garden, with everyone seeming energetic and happier as a result. At the end of Blue Velvet, the case is solved, the sun is shining, and the robins have returned. Both Jeffrey and Coraline return to their status quo, internally changed but more appreciative of their surroundings as a result of the challenges they had to overcome on the way to becoming fully formed individuals. These are classic hero's journeys, but stories like the hero's journey go back ages, and even though you may be watching them decades later than intended, there's something about the narrative tools used that will often resonate with you. I get why Coraline matters to a lot of people. It matters to me now too, but in a different way than before, recontextualized as a result of my experiences. While I think the message of ultimately finding comfort in your surroundings would have helped me a fair bit 15 years ago, it's still a statement I can appreciate today. And I'm glad I gave this film the chance to convey it to me. Sometimes a movie will end up hitting you at just the exact right time. Like many others, 2024 was not a great year for me. 2025 has been a little better, but at times it feels like just a slight improvement. Regardless, watching Coraline in theaters was a highlight, and being able to revisit a lot of my own childhood experiences with the film was something I think I needed at the time. Like the older tenants of the Pink Palace, I felt like I was living with my best days behind me. When things aren't going so well, it's pretty easy to feel this way. Even so, these people found comfort in their surroundings, and were gardening at the end with a sense of renewed vigor. And that was something that gave me just the tiniest bit of motivation and excitement for the future. Even if you think you're late to something, you're never really too late. Maybe you're finally in the right place to fully enjoy it. Maybe now, its message will take on an entirely different meaning for you. Don't beat yourself up for not watching something that everyone else already loves. Be glad that you're still able to receive the message it had for you after all this time. When we watch something years after its release, sure it can be a gamble, but I think you'll find that these older films still have a lot to show you, whenever you're ready to give them a shot. Hey everyone, it's been a while. Sorry. This video was written a long time ago, but it's the first of a few that I wrote over the summer. Here's hoping I can edit the rest of them soon as I get back into the swing of things. As always, I really do appreciate you guys watching to the end. You can always leave a comment as well, which really does go a long way in helping the channel. Like for instance, do you guys have any film blind spots of your own? You can let me know. If you'd like to help even more, you can join my Patreon for as little as $1 a month. I'm mostly posting some behind the scenes stuff, but I also managed to do a tutorial for those of you who want a little look into how I make these videos. You can also get your name shouted out on the credits, which does remind me I have 2 patrons to thank today. Thanks so much to Yasmin and Toasty for their pledges. Okay, thanks again for watching to the end, and I'll see you in the next one, which is hopefully pretty soon.